So on this data, let us start from the first sheet. Let's see what we are looking at today. Let's see what we are looking at today. So our agenda for today is very, very simple. We're going to be looking at how to remove duplicates. We'll be talking about duplicates in general. Okay. Then we'll look at identifying duplicates in the data. Okay. Then we'll look at how to remove duplicates in the data. Then I have two sheets for removing duplicates. Duplicates. Okay, when you are talking about duplicates, so now we're talking about duplicates. When you are talking about duplicates, okay, you can look at it from two angles. Two angles. Now, the first angle is looking at it from the point of view that, oh, you want to know if there are duplicates in individual columns. Okay, so you are checking the columns. Now, in a column, what are the values there? So you might be interested in only a particular column to know if it contains duplicates or not. All right, so that is the first point of view. So looking at only a particular column to determine whether or not it has duplicates. Okay, now the second point of view, which is the most common one when you're talking about data analysis, is examining the rows to check if there are any rows that are the same, that are exactly the same. All right. So if you have rows that are exactly the same, then they are said to be duplicates. All right. Now, the first look that I have here, removing duplicates, is looking at, oh, if you have duplicates in just a range of cells. So you have data in a range of cells. So you understand the range. So B4 to B15, and you use colon to denote range. You use colon, okay, not hyphen, not the two word. No. Okay, so B4 colon B15. Beautiful. So that is the range. Now, how do I detect in that range that, oh, there is a duplicate in this range of cells? Let's look at detection first. How do you detect? The first thing you have to do is to highlight the range you want to check. Okay, it does not have to be in just one column. It can be in multiple columns. Your range where you have all the names can be spread out like this. Okay, and you want to check if there's any value that appears more than once in that range. Okay, but here my name is just on one column. So let's see, is there any value that appears more than once in this column? If I look at it, I can see that, oh, there's a particular value, or there are some values that appear more than once. But let us let Excel do the detection here. So I'll highlight the range of cells first. Then I will go to my ribbon and I will click conditional formatting. Conditional formatting. Now, like the name says, we've explained what formatting is, okay, to define the look of your data. You want to change the look of your data, isn't it? Now, conditional formatting is simply changing the look of your data based on some certain rules. Okay, now I will click on conditional formatting and I will click on the first one that says highlight cells rules. Highlight cells rules. Now, in there, you would see duplicate values. Okay, duplicate values. So I'm going to click on duplicate values, and you can see. Okay, so I'm just going to click OK. And with this, it highlights those values that are duplicates. So it has highlighted the duplicates that I have in that column, okay, or in that range of cell. Now, it is one thing to remove duplicates. It is one thing to detect duplicates. It is another thing to remove duplicates. Okay, it is one thing to detect duplicates. It is another thing to remove duplicates. Detecting duplicates is just allowing you to see that, oh, this is what, these are the duplicates in the data. Okay, you don't have to detect duplicates before you remove duplicates. Detecting duplicates and removing duplicates are not dependent. Okay, not that, oh, you want to remove duplicates, then you say the first step is to detect it first. No, they are not dependent. You can go ahead and remove duplicates without checking which duplicate it is or which values are duplicated. Okay, so I'm going to undo this conditional formatting by pressing Ctrl Z. So it undoes the conditional formatting. Good. Now, how do we remove duplicates? How do we remove duplicates? Removing duplicates is very, very easy. Once again, you can highlight the range of cell or select that column. Okay, select the column, highlight the entire column. If you want to highlight a column, you click on the column letter at the top. So once you click on that column letter, it highlights the entire column. Okay, so highlighting the entire column and go up to data. Under your data tab, the data tab, once again, the data tab, finally, the data tab, you go to where you have remove duplicates. You will see remove duplicates under the group data tools. Okay, so I will click on remove duplicates. Now, once I click on remove duplicates, you see what it brings out. It's asking me a question. What do you want to do? Expand the selection or continue with current selection? In this case, because I only want to remove duplicates on a column, I'm going to click on continue with current selection. Okay, click on continue with current selection. So click on continue with current selection and then click on remove duplicates. Now, in here, it will show you the columns you have selected on which you want to remove duplicates. Okay, and then I will click on OK. Now, it gives me an information. It says to do this, all the merged cells need to be the same size. Now, why is it giving me this error? Okay, this is a very good one, so that you'd be able to learn one or two as well. Now, this row 2 has a merged cell. Okay, and because I highlighted the entire column, that is why I have that error. What I will do this time around is I am going to highlight only the range of cell. Okay, and I'll follow the same process to remove duplicates. And I will click on OK. Now you would see that it says 3 duplicate values found and removed. 9 unique values remain. Can you see that? So now let us now use that conditional formatting to check if Excel will detect duplicates again in this data. Okay, so let's see. If I highlight the range and I come over here, conditional formatting, highlight sales rules, duplicate values. Okay, you can see that it did not detect anything because we have removed those duplicates successfully. Okay, now that is one aspect of removing duplicates. Now, a more realistic approach that you would find data analysts do day to day is when you are trying to remove duplicates on an entire spreadsheet. Whenever you have a proper data, take note, whenever you have a proper data, it might take a bit of time here so that you can get the full grasp and understanding. Whenever you have a proper data and you need to remove duplicates, okay, there are two ways by which you can do it. All right. Number one, the first way is the general way, the normal way, which is just to remove duplicates from the entire data, highlight the entire data, and then remove duplicates. So it will check the entire rows, and then it will see if there are any rows that are the same. The second way, which is a less common approach, is to look for a unique column. Now, a unique column in the sense that the values in that column uniquely identifies each record in the data. So meaning every value in that column is expected to be unique. An example is the employee ID. I should not have two employees sharing the same employee ID on this table. Isn't it? So, but the most common approach to removing duplicates is, oh, you are checking the entire columns. Okay. But if you want to detect duplicates, you need a particular column that is a unique column. Unique in the sense that every value in that column is expected to be unique. We call it a primary key column. The Okay, so if you have such column in your data, then you can detect it if you want to. But you will be able to remove duplicates should there be any. Let's look at an example. Now, given this data, okay, given this data, the unique key column, I called it the primary key column. Primary key column. All right. I called it the primary key column. The primary key column, like I said, contains values that uniquely identifies each record in your data. Now, in this table, which column do you think would be the primary key column? The employee ID column would be the primary key column. Why? Because you expect the values in that column to be unique. While some employees can share the same first name or the same last name, or they can even share both, but they can never share the same employee ID. That value should uniquely identify each employee. Okay, Beautiful. So it means that if I want to detect, okay, if I want to detect duplicates, what I will do is I will highlight the employee ID column. I will come over to conditional formatting, highlight sales rows, and I will say duplicate values. Okay. Now, the values that are highlighted in these cells are the duplicates. Do you see that? The values in this column are the duplicates. So if there's a duplicate employee ID, what it means is that the data is duplicated. I even see one quickly. Row 11 and row 16. I'm even lucky to have detected that. Do you see that? Row 11 and row 16. Every value is the same, word for word. So that is a duplicate. So if I am counting the number of employees in this data, and I want to say, oh, the company has 1,000 employees, it means that that is a lie because there are some duplicate records there. Okay, so you can see why it's necessary to remove duplicates. Now, back to normal. Now, removing the conditional formatting. So, what if I now want to remove duplicates? What if I want to remove duplicates? I need to remove duplicates by highlighting or selecting the entire table. All the columns must be checked. What do I mean? If I say, let me remove duplicates on only the employee ID column, okay? Because, oh, well, I can use that to detect, isn't it? Let me remove duplicates from employee ID. If I scroll down, let me scroll down so you see something. If I scroll down, you can see I have 124 records. See where the employee ID got to. Okay. Now, I am going to highlight the employee ID column and I'll remove duplicates following the process that we looked at in the first sheet. Remove duplicates. Now, it will ask me, do you want to expand selection or continue with the current selection? You need to expand selection so that it will consider the entire columns and check for those rows that have the same values in the columns, in all the columns. Okay, if you click continue with current selection, like we did in the previous sheet, remember in the previous sheet, we were only considering a particular range of cells. But here, if you do continue with current selection and you say remove duplicates and you click OK, it says 24 duplicate values found and removed. Isn't it? That is beautiful. That is fine. But the issue with this is this. Why you did not remove that record? If you look at row 11, I still have this person, Kaylee, Snowad, female, blah, blah, blah. And it is still the same thing with row 16. The only thing that seems to have changed is the employee ID because it kept the first one and deleted the second one. So what it did was I shifted those values up. Now, if I scroll to the bottom, you will see that I'm having a lot of blanks. Meanwhile, it is the record it is meant to remove, not just one value in that column. It is meant to remove the record. Can you see? Now, let me undo. So I have undo that. Okay. Now, the proper way to remove duplicates. So you need to highlight the entire column. You cannot just select one column. When you are working on a particular thing, you cannot just select one column and say you want to remove duplicates. No. Okay. So what you will do is anywhere you click on your data is fine. if you come to remove duplicates, you will see that Excel automatically selects the nearest data to it. Okay, the range containing the data. Okay, you can see it detected the range. Then it also detected that you have headers in the first row. That is why you have this ticked. My data has headers. Okay, under the columns, you can see that I have all the columns here ticked. What I'm saying is this: if you have all the columns ticked, what you are simply telling Excel to do is this. You are saying, Excel, for each one of these columns, okay, I want you to check all the rows. If there's any row or any two or more rows where the values match column for column, then remove one of those rows or keep only one of those rows. So if you have 3 rows where everything matches column for column, it will keep only one row and delete 2. So this is the proper way to remove duplicates in Excel. All right. So from here, I will just click OK. Now, you can see that the same thing I did when I did for the individual column, it also told me 24 duplicate values found now. But this time around, it removed it properly, because if you look at row 11, where you have that Kaylee Snoward, row 16 now does not have that person. That record is gone because it is a duplicate. Okay, so if I scroll down to the bottom, you can see now that my data aligns properly. So the duplicates in the data is what it removes. It removes the record, the entire row. And that is the proper way to detect duplicates. So you cannot say you want to check which rows. Let me undo and show you one thing quickly. So the duplicates are back because I just undid that step. Now, you cannot say you want to check for duplicates and you want to check on the entire table. No. If you highlight the entire table and say, oh, let me detect duplicates, you come to Home, Conditional Formatting, highlight sales rows, and you say duplicate values. Do you see that? Do you see what's happening? See all this red, red, red? Because female appears more than once. That is why it is highlighting female red. Okay, so you cannot detect which row is actually a duplicate unless you want to go through the stress of checking which row has all the values on red, like this. All the values on red. Okay, but you cannot go through that stress. So that is why if you want to detect duplicates, you need a primary key column. In this case, the employee ID. So you only detect on that column. That column will tell you which rows are duplicates easily. All right. So that is that on detecting duplicates and removing duplicates. Detecting duplicates and removing duplicates.
Endeavor to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you. See you in our next class. Bye.